Welcome, dear friends, to a Thriver TV episode, which is a Thriver story. And I have the absolute joy and pleasure of introducing Anita, who is one of the bravest people I've ever met. She is a dear friend. I've known her for a couple of years as a narcissistic abuse recovery program member. She's also been a student of mine, and I just love her to pieces. And Anita, thank you for coming forward and sharing your story.
Well, thank you for inviting me, Mel. It's a real honour. Thank you.
And
Yeah.
I just know, Anita, that people are going to be, there's so many details of your story, from the narcissistic mum, which we're going to go into, and then also to you went through ritualistic abuse, which is a topic that a lot of people don't want to talk about. And I'm really thrilled that you are talking about it, because you're definitely not the first person in this community that's come forward with the trauma of that. And also, too, what's so gorgeous about your story is, well, this part's not gorgeous. You went through a tumultuous, painful divorce with a narcissist after the narcissistic mum, but you ended up being able to create, we see it regularly, people out there don't, a really powerful, like, court case win. And you had the dream team with your legal team. But anyway, okay, I digress. Well, okay, so the narcissistic mum, and it kind of all exploded in 2020. But yeah, share with people what happened there.
Yeah. So I'd been locked down in Guatemala where I was working with cacao. I got back, I quarantined with my mother, and then 2 weeks in, she died of a stroke. And I was very traumatized by what she'd done in her will, which was distinctly narcissistic, shall we say. And a very dear friend of mine, who was already on the narcissistic abuse recovery program, said, Anita, it looks like your mother was a narcissist. And he very, very kindly bought me the NARC Gold package. And so I very diligently started doing the shifts. Even though I didn't really understand what I was doing, I went through all the shifts, and that's how I started working with NARP initially. And at that,
So let's just the traumas from your mum, and so this was, the original stuff that you're working on with NARP. Was it to do with your mum, or was it the ex-husband, or kind of, was it a combination of both that you were healing at the time?
at the time, it was just the stuff that was coming up with my mother.
Mm.
Um, and the recognition that I'd been abused by her all my life, and that there was actually a name for it, and it was actually called narcissistic personality disorder. I just thought she was a totally evil distortion of what a mother should be. But it was a
Mm.
relief to be able to put a label on it, so to speak,
Mm.
and find that there were other people who had been victims of
Mm.
that sort of behaviour.
Mm.
Yeah.
So exactly, coming into the community, it really is an eye opener for so many people, because it's like, oh my gosh, this isn't just my story. This is so many people's story as well. So,
Yeah.
okay, so what, when okay, because she passed away. So when you started doing the modules, what started happening for you?
So when I started doing the modules, there wasn't a lot that I could see happening initially.
Mm.
Um, I had to go through a fairly big breakdown in order for the modules to really start working. And that breakdown involved a very acrimonious divorce with my former husband, where
Mm.
he announced that he was going to help himself to half of my property. He stole my
Mm.
business and took away pretty
Very
much everything of
typical.
value to me. Fairly standard with that sort of
Standard stuff.
personality. But I hadn't realised that he was displaying all the attributes and qualities of a narcissist. So um, I had a nervous breakdown at a job that I was doing. And then from there, all the memories of the ritual abuse came back. And
Mm,
from there, I went through a year of the valley of the shadow of death, I like to call it, where
mm,
every single second of the day I just wanted to die. The memories were so painful that every single cell in my body felt sick, and I was literally on the verge of ending it all. When one of the NARC programs popped up in my inbox, and I thought, this is my last chance saloon. It's
mm.
either this or not being here. Yeah.
I remember when we first connected, I remember like you had that spark of life and hope in you. You are a slither of what you are today. You really were. You know, you could see that here is this beautiful, amazing woman who is really hanging on her last thread. And I've seen this a lot with people from ritualistic abuse who are activated into it, and the trauma is so huge. But you'd had like it all going on everywhere: the mum, the ritualistic abuse, the husband, the ex, taking your property, taking your business, taking, every part of you, really.
Mm.
So, okay. So, what happened next? When we got together and you got really stuck into art modeling and quantum freedom healing, and you had some coaching with it. And yeah, what happened next?
Yeah. Well, I would look on the community forum and I'd see thrivers and NARPers having these absolutely spectacular court wins. And I thought, how the hell am I going to get there? This is just impossible. How am I going to get from here, where I am now, in this place of just absolute desolation, fearing that I'm going to be made destitute, unable to engage with the legal process, actually even unable to speak about it because I was so traumatized. How am I going to be able to get from this place to a spectacular court win? It's just like, it just seemed beyond me.
Mm,
So I just shifted. My biggest breakthrough was a shift where I suddenly thought, oh my God, I'm going to target the trauma in my body that's generating the blocks and obstacles to my engaging with the legal process.
mm.
And then, bam, everything shifted. I found that my inner world shifted as well. Um, and
I
I was
think
able to,
we just lost you for a minute. You're back. You're back,
yeah,
darling. Yep.
okay.
So just go again with that part about the legal process. You targeted the blocks that weren't allowing you to engage with the legal process.
Yeah. And it was like, bam, everything shifted. Um, I was able to operate from a place of analysis and logic and deduction, as well as a kind of soul discernment, if you like. So it cleared, I mean, that one shift cleared away so much and enabled me to operate from more of a position of power and ownership of my half of this divorce process. And then from there, I became more and more adept at steering the course of the shifts and tailoring them to create the conditions, if you like, and attract the right people, so that I'd be able to, honor myself and honor my values and truths, which I'd never actually known what they were in the first place.
So
So it was
true.
like a
So
multi-dimensional
true.
process as well,
And
focused
how
around
can you, when you've
okay.
had a narcissistic parent where you've had no rights and you've had no truth and you haven't been able to value yourself? So that
Yeah,
you,
that's right. So all this stuff just came flooding in. It was like, oh my God, I am worth something. Oh my God, my business actually is worth something. All that sweat equity that I put into that business that he's stolen, that was worth something. Um, my rights, my truths, my values, they're actually valuable to me. And in honoring them, I'm honoring my soul and my soul path. And and the creator, of which I'm part of creation. So yeah, it was multidimensional. It was a huge and even further spiritual awakening during this
Mm.
process. So it made it more engageable, if you like, this court process, knowing that it was actually part of a bigger spiritual picture. Yeah.
That's so well put, and it's so true. And all of our, yeah, you're right. And all of our ascension and healing and well-being, so much of the finances is the soul value. Like it's the health, it's the mental, it's the emotional, it's the spiritual, it's all of those things combined. So so what was the outcome in court? Like I know when you told me, I'm just like, what? That's so cool. So, and like actually witnessing stuff happening, like a big shift on and people listening to this, I know, because out in the normal non-quantum world, what happens is people are like, well, you can't beat narcissists in court. The court and solicitors and judges are a narcissistic system, and it is, even for normal things, it can be awful. But with quantum laws, so within, so without, when we shift on the inside, massive things happen. So just, yeah, explain what happened.
Yeah. So going from a place of being unable to engage with the process, even speak to my solicitor about what had been going on, and try and explain that I was with a psychopathic narcissist. It just, and everything was not going in my favor. We had a financial dispute resolution. It was like a second hearing, and I got absolutely pasted. I was painted as a greedy, grasping woman that wanted to keep every single penny from the marriage, and he was painted as this poor, kind of trodden over husband. Anyway, I couldn't have felt more battered. So I had to crawl off and do more shifts. And I thought, no, this doesn't feel right. This isn't aligned with my soul truth. And despite what my solicitor told me, she said, oh, no, you're just going to have to go to give him 50% of the property. I was like, no, this does not feel right in line with my soul. No.
Exactly. And you're supposed to instruct your solicitor, not the other way around. And we fall for that stuff all the time. So yeah,
Yeah.
keep going.
So I sacked her.
Yeah, good. Yeah,
I
good.
found I found through a friend an absolutely spectacular lady who was described as lethal, and she certainly was. She prepared me an absolutely magnificent case, and I was hoping it wouldn't get to a final hearing, but the other half wanted a final hearing. He wanted his day in court.
Yeah,
He
yes,
wanted to annihilate me. So
of course.
I actually had a barrister who she'd recommended, who was an absolute super sleuth. Now he'd read my case notes because he was really diligent, and I have to say, I called in my perfect legal team. Um, so he'd read all the notes, and he was like, "Something's not right here." So we went into the final hearing, and we broke for lunch. I had to give my evidence. I was just about to go up into the witness box,
Mm.
and what had happened prior to that was that in real time during the court, they'd uncovered that my former husband was concealing his assets, and he'd been lying and perjuring himself in court. And so I got an amazing deal. I didn't have to give evidence in the end. His solicitors came back and said, right, okay, we had to make a deal because like he was screwed. Yeah. Um, so I was just in shock. I couldn't believe it. I broke down in tears. It was like the most. It was just like the most amazing, miraculous thing that had ever happened. And I was thinking, I'm going to need a miracle to sort this shit out. Yeah, and I got one. Yeah, I really got one.
And Anita, we do. We see it all the time. We see that inner shift, that outer thing. And, that's what you were listening to when people are saying, well, I had this miracle. We've had cases where the narcissist broke down and couldn't get to the court, and the judge decided without them, and the most incredible synchronicities happened. So I'm so thrilled. So what I love about that is you honored yourself. when we're in the fear and when we're in the trauma and we don't feel like an authority and we don't have value, we're not listening to that inner voice. And when that solicitor said, well, you got to take that deal, we're in fear and trauma, we just do that. We just go along and we end up getting throttled. But
Mm.
you've done enough to have a shift inside you to listen to your guidance and stand in it and move with that. And then that moves universes. And that's exactly what happened. So
Mm.
that friend who came forward to you, like with the solution of the other person, so that was after you shifted and you made that choice to go your own way, or what was that around the same time?
Sorry, which friend?
When
The one
they
who.
suggested the new solicitor that was ruthless.
Oh, that was my choice. I started to it was like I had this internal sat nav, a moral compass
Yeah.
that was aligned with my soul, that was getting stronger and stronger and stronger, like a strongly beating heart. And I felt like I had to honour it, regardless what
Mm,
solicitors were saying, regardless of what the judge had said. It was like I had to honour myself, and
mm,
it felt very empowering actually doing that. And discerning that my current solicitor was very mediocre, and calling in someone who was powerful, who was incisive, who was
mm,
intelligent, and who was really
mm,
strong. And
mm.
I did that through shifting and through intention setting.
Gorgeous.
Um,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. So it's, and always I was going back
Mm,
to the forum. I was getting inspiration from the community, just reading about successes. I was getting inspiration
mm.
from,
And
your
for
right
people out there,
book.
that's our global community, the Narcissistic Abuse Recovery Program community, which is a private community where all members can get coaching and support 24/7, 365. But yeah, they're amazing in there. There's just, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So I mean, I would say to all NARPers, just take a moment to be still and go inside and really feel into what your truths and your values are. And if it doesn't
Mm,
feel right to you,
mm,
regardless of what a judge is saying or a solicitor is saying or anyone else is saying,
I
it's got
agree.
to feel right to you. And if
Yeah.
it feels right to you, then there's a way to
Mm,
be able to get the support that you need and call it in, work with your shifts. Yeah.
mm. That,
To get to the
that's
place of
awesome.
honouring your soul and your values, whatever they are, and however they're expressed in the material world, whether that's your property or your business or your child. Yeah.
Yeah, very good. Beautiful share. And so important to not just accept or believe that you're up against a narcissist, you're going to get throttled, there's nothing you can do. It's just not true. These people actually get quite powerless and they unravel when we step in our power. And that's what's so exciting. They're not as tough as what they make out to be at all. So, Anita, like the breakdown, I want to talk a bit more about that and help people understand that, because the breakdown that you were going through was very significant. Um, and I want you to just share with people how bad it was, how you felt like when you were in that place.
Mm. That was that was possibly the toughest ever period of my life. I didn't think I was going to get through it. I didn't think I'd be here now. Um, every single cell in my body felt like it was sick. I just felt like I was dying a million times across all my lifetimes and into my soul. It was absolutely horrific and inescapable. I couldn't escape from this torment and the memories that were coming up. My inner world was like Hieronymus Bosch on steroids and acid. It was quite horrible. Um, I mean, I can look back on it now and kind of laugh about it, which is a testament
Thank
to,
God.
I know, yeah,
Thank God.
the amount of healing work. that's taken place. But when I came back to doing some more deeper work with NARP, I was literally at the last chance saloon. I thought, if this doesn't work, I'm going to end it, because I can't bear being in this body anymore. I can't bear it. It was just absolutely horrific. And I had done some great work with some really amazing shamanic healers.
I
And
remember you saying.
yeah. And, I've trained and qualified as a shamanic practitioner myself. So
Mm,
I kind of knew what was going on a multidimensional level.
yeah.
And even then it was just unbearable. Although I say, without that, I guess I wouldn't have I would have been even more confused. So at least I had that perspective and
Mm,
the shifts as well, to be able to clear all this stuff out of my body. But yeah,
mm,
MTE support were amazing. I know at the
mm,
time you had Violet, and I reached
mm.
out to Violet several times, and she was like a lifeline. She knew intuitively how to support me, what to say. Honestly, those
Good.
MDE members were like angels during that time. All I did was, for a year, was maybe just like lie on my bed and shift. That's all I could do. Yeah, I could barely leave the house. Um, I was in a state of very, very deep depression. And yeah, looking back on it now, um, it was like a different lifetime. Yeah.
Mm. So, how did it start feeling different? What happened?
Mm, it was, it was, my internal world shifted. Um, and that was reflected in my external world. My external world had, for pretty much all of my life, been very haphazard and chaotic.
Mm,
And I started to see more structure. And this is all kind of taking place at the same time as the court hearing. So I was able to bring more structure into my life. Um, um, I was able to show up for myself more and make choices that
mm.
were based on uh, a deeper soul level, rather than informed by trauma or bad habits, patterns, or addictions. I started,
I remember back then the battles that you were having with certain decisions that were, as we can all do before we start healing enough, that self-sabotage and self-harming and, which are in alignment with how we're not valuing ourselves. And you started to come out of that. It'd be so interesting to show people the pictures, like the photos of the Anita I met and, and the glowing, beautiful creature that you are now, because you're just stunning. It's like, it is like two different people.
yes, I'd agree with you. I just want to say to all the NARPers out there who are struggling with addictive patterns and behaviours,
Mm,
and I had all the addictions except for heroin, crack, and gambling. I was addicted to alcohol, substances, sugar, dairy, nicotine. I was addicted to a party lifestyle, sex, drugs, and rock and roll,
mm,
sugar, cakes, biscuits, nicotine, alcohol,
mm.
partying, shopping,
Mm.
drama, gossip, bitching, um,
Oh,
and
gosh.
just all the stuff. And
Yeah.
and I mean, at the time, I didn't realize that obviously what I was trying to do was to distract myself from my inner world. um,
Mm,
so like I said, I just want to say to all the narpers out there, with the shifting, I noticed that these patterns of addiction were diminishing. I would reach for them less. It was as if my body didn't want them, my soul didn't want them, or I didn't need them. Um, and gradually, it's almost as if they began to diminish of their own accord. So I didn't have to use my will or force myself into refusing these sorts of patterns, it was as if the internal battle had just vanished. There just wasn't even a battle anymore. It just wasn't even a thing, which was such a wonderful reward. And I'd made space for other things to come in. I'd made space for nourishing interests and hobbies and people to come into my life. And so I started to be able to
I
choose.
know some of the people you've connected with who are gorgeous,
Yes.
like in your world in the UK and the stuff you do, and they're stunning people. Yeah.
Yeah. And so rather than connecting again, with abusive people or parasitic people or people that didn't
Mm.
value me, I was connecting with loving people, genuine people, people who valued me and who really saw me and who understood me. And I've also noticed that when I've reconnected with old friends, I say friends in the loosest possible term,
Oh,
who
yes,
aligned
yes. Yeah. Yeah.
and they haven't aligned with this new version of me,
Yeah.
they've fallen away very quickly, very
They will.
quickly. Yeah, which is great.
Wow. Which is great. Yeah, because it's really hard to bring people up to your level. It's much better if they're at your level or you're growing together, which I love that. Anita, it's honestly, I've always with you felt like kind of like even though we're around the same age, I felt like a bit of a mother hen because I'm like,
Oh,
no, I really do, because I've always loved you and seen you in your battle and seen who you are. And also, you reminded me of myself years ago. It's not about me, it's about you. But years ago, when I was on death's door and I thought I could never recover from my breakdown, and I'd been plagued with addictions all my life, even although after hearing your list, I think you had a better crack at it than I did. I think you're right up there on the queen of addictions, you know. But mine were really bad too. So I just saw so much of my journey in you. And, I'd had some massive big trauma on, just very deep sexual levels too, which you've had, at a much worse level. So yeah, like it's just, oh, so heartwarming for me to see, because, it was death rebirth for you. And what's so exciting too about you is that you are such a gifted, incredible lady. If I was in the UK, I would be definitely coming to your workshops. I seriously would. And I want to give you a big plug because, Anita is a cake. Please explain what you do. Like anybody in the UK, we're going to put Anita's details up that you can connect up if you want to, and I would suggest it. So, what do you do?
yeah.
Explain to
Thanks.
people.
Yeah. So I work with cacao as a cacao ceremonialist
Oh,
and as
I
a
love that.
chocolatier. And cacao is the ancestral medicine of the Mayan people. And cacao has got the most wonderful, wonderful healing benefits. Cacao was there for me on my healing journey with NARP, because cacao
Mm,
brought me into my body. She brings you into your body. She allowed me to connect to the earth and also to connect to higher dimensions as well. But most importantly, she's a medicine of embodiment. And, there were times when I couldn't get up in the morning. I'd open my eyes and think, oh my God, I'm here again. And the thing
mm,
that got me out of bed was that trip to the blender to make my cacao. So I know I've segued, but I just felt it was important to share how instrumental
mm,
cacao was in my healing journey. So
mm,
I've been working with cacao since 2014, and I serve cacao at ceremonies, and I also work as a shamanic practitioner and energy healer, sharing cacao in my one-to-one healings. And I also make chocolates. I'm very well known for the chocolate that I make, which is made in sacred space. And absolutely divinely delicious.
I bet.
Yeah.
You'll have to
Yeah.
send me some to Cape Trib. I want to try some of your chocolates.
Okay. It's a
I'll
date.
buy some. Yeah, you have to send me some. I'd love to try them. Mm.
Yeah, for sure. Yes, I
If
will. Yeah.
chocolate's healthy, I'm all over it.
Yeah, well, they're healthy chocolate. So here's a dish of my chocolates. We've got
Ooh.
Radhe and Krishna's Love Garden, which is that one.
Oh
That
my
is a
goodness.
cardamom chocolate with crystallized ginger, pistachio, and banana.
Oh, so
And
good.
and we've got Tantric Breakfast, which is I know. Do you fancy a Tantric breakfast?
Sounds
Um,
exciting. It sounds dangerous, actually.
which is a cayenne chocolate with a handmade brittle of cashew nuts and maple syrup, vanilla, and dates.
So you
And
make these?
I make those, yes, yeah, yeah.
Oh my gosh.
And they are plant based, so they're made with
No.
coconut milk powder, they're made with maple sugar, and they're made with coconut sugar. So
Oh,
no
gorgeous.
dairy, no cane sugar, and the base is ceremonial grade cacao. So they're also a medicine as well. Yeah.
Oh my goodness. So look at you now that all this trauma is out of your cells and all this creativity that bursts forth. And this is what I love so much about people that go through the dark dungeon of narcissistic abuse. To get out of it, you have to let go of trauma and get the light in. And then when that source light comes in, you activate into soul mission and soul purpose. So I'm
Yeah.
so proud of you. I'm so excited for you. I love the stuff that you're getting out there and doing in the world now. And, you're an inspiration, Anita, and I hope that you can be an inspiration to other people that are in the bowels of hell.
Yeah.
Because,
Yeah. I hope
narcissistic
so.
abuse and dark breakdown is the bowels of hell. You and I have both been there. So, Anita, what would you say to people who, have come across my work, they're having a look at this community, who are in those dark places? What could you share with them?
Um, I'd love to share, just invest in yourself. If you value yourself, and but at the same time you feel that you are disempowered and that you have no control over your life, coming to NARP is the most fantastic way to break through um, lifetimes, in fact, because we're not just talking about this lifetime, we're
Mm,
talking about full spectrum healing. We're talking about this lifetime, we're talking about ancestral stuff, we're talking about other
mm.
lifetimes. So, regardless of whether you resonate with that, this is what the shifting's all about. So, we've got DNA codes literally in our blood, and doing the quantum healing actually helps to dissolve these habits and patterns that have been holding us back from being the very best versions of ourselves. And yeah, but you just do it. Yeah. And also, these shifts allow you to come into your body and start to make peace with your body. Because for
Mm.
many of us who've experienced abuse, the body is a very unsafe place to be. It's been the platform for trauma. We don't trust our bodies.
Mm.
They've been in possession of other people. They felt pain. They're carriers of pain. So doing these shifts is a really beautiful way. Actually, engaging with the whole NARP and quantum freedom healing process is the most wonderful way of coming back to your body and making peace with your body and learning to trust your body again. It's yeah, and taking ownership of your body and beginning to love yourself. And that was one of the biggest takeaways that I had. Loving my body, loving myself, and taking ownership of my body and also my whole being.
And you've become such a goddess who's in her heart and who's in her body. like when we first met, of course, you were traumatized, you were disconnected, you were disassociative, you couldn't even feel, and you're an embodied goddess. And I'm sure anybody looking at you and listening to you can heal it. It's coming from your soul now. Anita, thank you so much, darling, for coming on and for being such a special dear friend in my life and fellow traveler. I love you to pieces. And
Oh, thank you, Mel. Thank you so much. Such an honour. Thank you.
we're going to share, because have you got your cacao stuff and your products up on a website, or can people contact you, or how can they get in contact with you if they're in the UK and start connecting to
Yeah.
yourself?
Yeah. So the website is coming soon because I've mainly been getting divorced for the last 2 years. The website's been a back burner. So currently I'm doing everything from my Instagram whilst the website is under construction. So I
Awesome.
post my stuff on my Instagram, and once my website is up, I'll be posting on my website. So if people want to reach out to me on Instagram and also take a look at my work, um, shall I? I've got a card here. So,
Yeah.
oh,
Oh, I think you need to bring it over in front of your face. So, yeah. Okay. I'll tell you what, honey, we're going to put it up. We'll put it up. What's your Instagram handle?
my Instagram handle is my name, Anita Brule
Mm,
underscore Sacred Hearts.
beautiful. Beautiful. So we'll put that up with this interview as well, and people can find out more about cacao and get onto you. And that's exciting. All right, honey. Thank you so much for taking this time this morning. It's your morning, it's my evening, but it's always awesome to hang out with you. And every time I see you, you look more and more beautiful, truly.
Thank you, Mel.
You
Thank you.
are age reversing. You look 10 years younger than the last time I saw you. You really do.
Oh gosh. Well, I've been doing the medical medium food program.
Oh,
So that,
nice.
like, lots of celery juice and
Good.
yeah, really, really healing foods. And that's been like shifting. That combined with shifting has been really amazing. Yeah.
All
Mm.
things healthy. And I love it when we
Mm.
put combos together. It's just so powerful. All right, gorgeous girl. Thank you. And I hope that everybody watching this can be inspired to know that, it's never the end. And I love what I believe, that if you are still alive, source God creation hasn't finished with you yet. And you are a perfect example of that, Anita.
Thank you, Mel. Love you.
I love you too.